I cannot believe that Team Cherry decided to release Silksong on the same day as the Indiana Jones DLC, during the month I decided to dedicate to Indiana Jones content. Nevertheless, the show must go on, and these videos ain't gonna make themselves. Welcome to a brief review. I am your host, King Crusoe, you can call me KC, and I love Indiana Jones. At the onset of writing this review, I hadn't even really seen that much of anything related to the character, but for some reason, what I had consumed has always really stuck with me. Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade are perfect films. The little amount of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles I've seen was very good, and the Lego Indiana Jones games go frickin' hard, and I've also watched some of the movies that I had not yet seen in the time since writing this script. But this video isn't about any of those things. This is about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, released in late 2024 and with a brand new DLC coming out tomorrow. At least at the time of this review's release. I will review said DLC entitled The Order of Giants later in the month. For now, I mean to catch up on a review that has awaited writing since the beginning of the year. By the way, all the gameplay footage I show in the video of this review was recorded before Major Patch 3 was released, so any subtle things that have changed, like bug fixes and the like, are probably fixed by now. Like I said, the review has been on my backlog for a little while. But I don't want to waste any more time. For once, I'd like to release an actually brief episode of a brief review, so I will go on attempting to do just that.
Can't sleep.
That looks Catholic to you, doesn't it?
It's the sigil of the Vatican Secret Archive.
Entrance to the sacred monastery of the Nephilim.
It may be a hot take to say that I like Indiana Jones more than I like Han Solo. So much is this the case for me that it's not even a question. Though I've consumed Indiana Jones content far less than Star Wars, something about Indy's character has always just stuck with me, resonated with me even. After all, the autistic child who I used to be in my younger years imagined adventure and danger around every corner, and that meant the vibe of Indy just clicked. Whether explicitly or implicitly, I think most of my younger adventures, when I wasn't just being Anakin Skywalker, were spent inspired by Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford's casually snarky demeanor that never settles for know-it-all snobbery because it just oozes the sheer passion for the craft is something that is addictively charming and has always been that way. Offset that with some ragtag fist fights and saving epic relics of unimaginable import, and you get a character saddled up to last a long time. Needless to say, it was deeply, intrinsically important for the Great Circle to get Indiana Jones right. And I think it's safe to say that it does, and truly this is probably the reason this game works the way it does. Troy Baker's performance as the character is unbelievably good. I'm not the first to say that the imitation is uncanny, but if you haven't experienced the game for yourself yet, just know that nobody has lied to you when they say that. As a matter of fact, speaking from my experience with the game, there were only a handful of moments in the front half of the game where I noticed Troy in a random line, and at that, it was only ever for like a single word or something like that. In the back half of the game, I noticed Troy popping out of the voice a little more often, mostly because I kept fixating on the voice in ways that most people aren't going to, but at the end of the day, Troy's performance is the absolute best. If Indy didn't sound like Indy, this game would be hard to enjoy anywhere near as much because it would be too distracting. But the other major performances are equally as authentic and great. Rest in peace, Tony Todd, by the way. The sidekicks are certified Indiana Jones worthy as far as I'm concerned, and the villains are too. The motivations and twisting angles to everybody is memorable and makes for a dynamic cast that I sincerely hope has been accepted into the broader indie canon. Gina and Father Ventura handily earn their places beside Marion and Marcus Brody and Indy's father. Emmerich Voss and Victor Gantz earn their spot beside Renee Belloc and Elsa and Major Todt as villains. These are all characters whom I believe will stand the test of time, both in and out of video games, not to mention within the Indiana Jones universe. And I don't want to not mention the other performances as well. There is not a single bad voice performance in this game, and to my memory, everyone was authentic and performed well, all the way up to the random goons, littered about the levels. I was never taken out of the experience by voice work, and that in and of itself is awesome. The conceit and legendary mythological basis of the Great Circle is equally as compelling as the character work and writing, and it is, as far as I can tell, consistent with broader major Indiana Jones MacGuffins as well. These go a long way in selling how good the experience is. I mean, just look at Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade. Both focus on Christian iconography and symbology, namely the Ark of the Covenant in the former case and the Holy Grail in the latter case. These two films are also relevant in that they focus on Nazis as the main antagonistic force as well, taking place a couple of years apart in the mid-1930s, or perhaps late, depending on how you think of it, in 1936 and 38, respectively. That left a beautiful little gap in 1937 for another story in similar style and broader pre-World War II setting to occur. That's exactly what the Great Circle is, except instead of dealing with the Ark or Holy Grail, it's dealing with a different mythological item, one that could technically be related to multiple myths, but the relevant Christian one is the most obvious. But the Great Circle also has a little bit more than that too. I mean, before you could actually get to the finale, you first have to explore the titular Great Circle a bit, a series of locations around the world which contain artifacts that are all mysteriously related to one another. You follow a quest trying to determine what this could possibly be about, having indie-style misadventures and run-ins with more iconic antagonistic personalities and interesting love interests, plus all manner of other local friends and foes, and everything just plays swimmingly. It's a great time if you're invested or simply interested in the Indiana Jones style of historicity combined with mythos, taking the subject matters of both equally seriously and trying to combine them in at least vaguely plausible ways. The story of the game is a slam dunk, no questions asked. As a little bonus, the heart and legitimately funny bits that the game features are perfect in the ways the original films were, and that really adds to the overall experience. From a gameplay side of things, the Great Circle was also just great fun. I, like everybody else, was exceedingly skeptical about the game being first person rather than third, but it basically took no time at all for my mind to be changed on this front. I mean, there's a couple different ways to view this sentiment. A, the dungeon crawling is much more immersive in first person, and thus exploration as a whole is more immersive. And B, even though first-person non-shooter combat is always janky no matter what, the fact that Indy is not a fighter, just kinda scrapping his way through encounters, allows for even the combat to feel like a natural extension of the character. You know that meme, it really makes you feel like Batman. I mean, Spider-Man. Wait, no, Indiana Jones. That's who. All memes aside, however, it is crazy how good it actually feels to play this game, despite the reservations I had. The spelunking, the sneaking, the fights, it all speaks to a larger Indiana Jones spirit that is eternally intact throughout the entire package. Hell, even the manner of disguising yourself to fit in certain areas, and there still being occasions where enemies might catch on to your deception, feels organically like it is part of this IP through and through. Furthermore, the way the greater length of a video game allows for more locations to be explored in that true Indiana Jones fashion makes for great pacing in the settings and the gameplay. I never felt like I was stuck in the Vatican or Giza or Sukhothai for too long, even when exploring up to 100%, so in that way it totally nails the fundamental exploration loop. And as I already mentioned briefly, the combat is good. The moments of jank I experienced with this felt exclusively either intentional or like it was otherwise in support of the tone of the game, and the combat sections also came across as thoughtfully designed to be very Indiana Jones flavor of frenetic as well, and was also well paced to boot. And now that I've mentioned pacing multiple times, the story pacing, general writing, and overall humor, matched by historically political seriousness throughout the Great Circle, was the final element that Machine Games needed to get right, and they absolutely did. All you need to do is witness a couple of interactions between Indy and his companions, or with the villains, and it is immediately, readily apparent what franchise this is a part of. The game is funny, it is charming, the writing is authentic to the world in question, and the structure everything follows just works. Insert Fallout 76 meme here because Todd Howard is actually the driving force for the Great Circle's creation.
All of this just works. And again, it just works.
Getting to visit and explore the various locations over the course of the game was broadly super rewarding. There are a few larger areas that I mentioned before, Vatican, Giza, Sukhothai. These act as hubs for a number of side quests and whatnot, alongside a larger sequence of the story, and these are broken up by a couple of shorter locations that you only visit for specific story purposes, something that itself feels ripped out of the structure of the films. And no small number of the pacing devices used to lead you along the path of the story are reminiscent of the films too, MacGuffins which actually mean something in the context of the legend at play. The legends and myths at play in and of themselves, crazy crypt and dungeon designs and interconnected location layouts that just feel like adventure baked in, without going so insane that they abandon the familiarity of how the films construct their sequences. I mean, just think back to the OG Indiana Jones movie trilogy. Crypts and tombs make stark appearances in The Last Crusade, and so too in the Vatican. An Egyptian setting in Giza takes precedent to remind of raiders, while also being something somewhat more iconic. Even the jungles of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and less so the Temple of Doom, are mildly familiar in Sukhothai. In general, there's just enough of the borderline fan servicey stuff to make the Great Circle a very Indiana Jones piece, but in my opinion never goes so overboard on said fan service to completely drown the experience. You don't have to be an indie fan to enjoy this game, but after all, there's no question it was made with fans of the series in mind. Though I grew up with relatively quite little Indiana Jones content, basically only Raiders, Last Crusade, and a handful of moments from the first volume of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, I have always loved, resonated with, and had tons of fun with Indiana Jones. As of recently, when I finished writing this script, I have actually rewatched the aforementioned films for the first time in many years, and I've also recently experienced Temple of Doom, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and Dial of Destiny all for the first time. I love Indy as a character. I generally love the mythological yet still usually grounded adventurous tone. I love the humor and the heart and the writing, and I love the potential that there has always been for so much more in this franchise. I believe that the Great Circle fits right in with the best of the Indiana Jones material. I could understand if some might think it relies perhaps too heavily on tropes the franchise has relied upon for too long, but then one can even say the same thing about some of the films, including the best one, which is obviously The Last Crusade. And on a more technical level, I also empathize with the players of the Great Circle who may have experienced some decently major bugs when playing, particularly shortly after release. I had a few of those myself. A few notable examples include trophy procking issues, certain prompts for some NPCs being buggy, even a glitch where taking more photos than necessary of a particular Vatican landmark was somehow the solution to an issue with 100%ing the game when it makes zero sense for that to have been a thing, kind of on that achievement procking issue that I mentioned. My favorite bug, or least favorite, but who's keeping track, was when an NPC in Giza actually spawned in the wrong place in front of the tent's entrance that no amount of reloading or resetting fixed. I got lucky that one of the 3 autosaves I had didn't contain this bugged NPC, or I would have been soft-locked out of finishing the game without a new save file. But these were all issues from early in the game's lifetime. The handful of issues I came across, and when I played the game in the first place, was before Major Update 3 even came out, and there now have been 4 of those, including a couple hotfixes for Update 4, so I have no idea at the time of this review what issues may or may not yet persist. My hope is that all the notable ones have been addressed. Anyway, I really enjoyed this game. How fortunate that there will be more of it to play here starting, oh would you look at that, tomorrow, as per the video version of this review's release. Tomorrow, The Order of Giants comes out, and I cannot wait to experience.
There it is.
But hey, it looks like I have, for once, managed to write a somewhat brief review. Episode 1 was nearly twice as many words as this, Episode 2 was right about twice as many words, and even the one impressions video I've done was somewhere in that range as well. Even most of my film reviews, and definitely the ones I've made into videos, have been longer than this review, so in the spirit of making brevity an accurate feature for once in my life, I will choose to wrap things up now. I don't know how long the DLC will be. If it is short enough, there's a small chance I'll get to make a part 2 of this review for about a week from this video's release to review the DLC on its own. It may have to come the week after that if the DLC and my video take longer than anticipated to complete, i.e. if the Order of Giants happens to be substantially larger than I expect, but in either case I hope to have a review out for that to come this month. Also coming this month, in the meantime, the next couple of Mondays will see me reviewing the OG trilogy all in one video, and then a follow-up the week after to talk about the Legacy sequels. I'm looking just as forward to those videos as I am about getting to play and cover The Order of Giants. So, if you happen to be a fan of Indiana Jones, and I don't see why you wouldn't be if you're watching this video, I hope you stick around to check out those reviews when they are ready. Thank you so much for watching my brief review of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. For now, I have been your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.